Hey everybody, it's Jang here with a look at a LEGO Ninjago set. This is Titan Mech Battle, comes with 754 pieces. That includes 3 figures, 2 more figures, and one of these. As usual, I'm starting with the big thing in the set, the big deal, and the big deal this time is the Mechenstein, aka the possessed samurai mech. Yes, this is Nia's samurai mech, sprayed with ghost juice to make it bad. And this is what's supposed to happen. Changes up the color scheme, grows a couple of extra arms, and just becomes mean and ghoulish and nasty in general, and looks like it might have actually more power. I don't know if the operator is going to have as much skill as Nia did, but with the extra pair of swords, the extra pair of arms, this looks like it's going to be a little tough. A little more than tough to go up against. These are on ball joints, the CCBS creature or character and creature building system joints, so you can move these around. The epaulettes, if you will, that are made of trained cow catchers are able to move up to give enough room for arms that are raised up like that. Same thing down here, you get plenty of articulation. You can move those swords all the way around. You've got the fingers which are able to articulate independently, and it's a total of 3 down here, a total of 4 up here. When it comes to articulation of the entire body, going back and forth, you can twist this side to side. It's got enough room there so you can set it up to do some slashing motion. And then for the legs, you can go in and out, you can go forward and back, and then down for the feet, for the ankles, you just have just a little bit of a round kind of motion. You can rotate it. These are on ball joints down here at the base, but they're limited by pieces that are kind of holding it in place. You can adjust the angle of this a little bit to allow it to come forward a little bit, and that's important depending upon the exact pose that you want to get here, because let's say if you want to try to get a forward walking kind of pose, probably something like that. I think it's not all that great, but maybe rotate these around just a little bit. And it's kind of tough. It doesn't have any knees. There's no knee articulation there, so that kind of limits you a little bit, but you are able to get enough, I think, to make this thing look expressive. You know, this is not a static kind of looking pose. I appreciate the small details and small texturing that they did around the set. Different types of pieces, different shapes, things taken from different systems. The gears there don't do anything, but they just look good, I think. Lots of the transparent neon greenish yellow pieces. It even looks pretty respectable, I think, from the back. They didn't just leave it flat and unfinished. The top of the head can be flipped up to allow you a little bit easier access to the operator's position there, but you also have just a slightly different way of holding that in, because you can turn these kind of bone-like pieces out of the way. It's just a little different thing that's specific to the ghostification of it. And then there's Zane's Titan Mech here, which is kind of in a different class. It has a different fighting style. It's a little bit more lightweight, probably moves more quickly. You can just kind of see some of the swiftness to its appearance. From a more functional perspective, it's actually very similar to the other mech in that it doesn't have any knee joints. It's got the ball joints down at the feet, but there's a little bit more range of motion there for a little bit more posability. You've still got the rotating waist right there and the exact same configuration of joints down for the hips, or to move the thighs. You can spin up these spinner tops over on the sides, and then his blades are kind of built into the sides of the arms, so you can see him doing more of a slashing motion across, although you're not really able to get that to come across so much. You kind of have to look at it as being this. You know, that's his main strike, I would say. I guess a little bit different with the arms with this one, because you only have one axis of movement here, but you still have the ball joint up at the top, so it ends up being fairly similar range, I'd say. On the top of the torso, you can see there are also a couple of stud shooters that are built in there. I think those are supposed to represent shots that come out of these shoulder-mounted launchers, small launchers here. You can kind of aim those around a little bit, but it's just each one is just a brick with the slot going down the middle, so I think these are intended to represent the shots that would come out of those. The head is simple, small, but I really like it. Really like it. And you can also open up the front here to get a little bit easier access to your figure in there. The smaller overall size means you get fewer details than the bigger mech, but it does still have a number of little ones on there. And of course, you've got the articulated fingers. I think this one has more stickers on it. And of course, it's a little bit more geometric in its style, trying to be a little bit more techy, but still manages to pull off a pretty consistent theme from top to bottom. Here's a closer look at the first minifigures. You got Zane there on the left, Nia as Samurai X in the center, and on the right is Jay with a flail weapon. He's kind of holding the weapon end of it in the other hand there. He would just flail that around on the chain. And there's a look at these from the backs, but of course a lot of stuff is hidden. There we go. A couple of them get alternate faces, not all three. You see the backs of the torso prints much better, and everything clear on the front as well as the full faces. Here are the bad guys, or bad people, or no, bad figures. The bads. Bansha on the left, a Screamer in the middle, and the Scythe Master Gultar over on the far right side. I don't know of a term that will apply to all of these, because they're not people, they're not human, they're not all humanoid. What do you even call them? Enemies, villains. And there's the rest of the stuff that you couldn't see on the back, what little was there, and a better look at their faces once again, as well as the full torso prints. Set also includes this harpoon launcher, which is able to aim up and down just a little bit. It only has kind of a limited range there. I wish that it could point up a little bit more, so if you get the enemy mech up closer, you could still kind of shoot for the shoulder area, the upper arm, where there are more things that harpoon can attach to, because it does have a string attached to it, and that's just anchored down in here right now. So when you shoot this off, you pray that it's not going to get tangled, and it doesn't. It actually works pretty decently well. You just still have to manage all this string. They don't give you any reel or anything to put it around, which could be a little bit of a mixed blessing there, because sometimes the reels will get the string stuck, but this way, you're just gonna have to stuff it into this little box. I think it works okay. And lastly, of course, you've got an arrow blade on a pedestal, which you need to either protect or to capture, and it's representing a little bit of a mountainside cave with a couple of stalactites coming down from above. Printed console right here, and that's a sticker down there on the ground. A very simple little thing, doesn't really do all that much, doesn't provide all that much play value, just a little bit of scenery in the background, I'd say. The one problem that I have with this set is the potential play experience between the two mechs. Because what is a kid going to do to battle these two? He or she is going to pick up the two of them from behind, and not with this exact grabbing of them, just going to pick them up in the hands with the fists and do like this and try to fight back and forth. But between the two, the bad guys one is just so much larger and has so much more reach with those longer arms and those longer swords, so it's going to just be slashing away at Zane's mech, and that's unfortunate because, yeah, he's got his back and forth motion here, but the reach, it's just not quite so believable. Definitely have to rely on the projectile weapons of the Titan mech by comparison, but it really looks like it's not going to be a good battle just looking at these two. They don't feel like they would be well matched to each other. And I do completely understand the whole idea of the underdog and David and Goliath and whatnot, but the actual physical play experience between the two is really going to come down to a thing of reach, and you're just going to see swords all up in the face of the Titan mech. Beyond that, this is still a very cool set. I mean, each individual mech is very good in and of itself. It would have been nice to get knee articulation, but that would have taken a lot of detail out of the legs, and I feel like this is actually a good compromise. They still have enough movement that you can get them to pose nicely, and they look so good. Each one looks good just by itself, just stands on its own, has its own look to it, its own theme, its own feeling, its own personality, its mechanical personality. The little harpoon launcher is just a story device. I think it is useful for play, and it actually can do something against the Mechenstein, because it does have so many points where you can catch that harpoon. Sometimes they try to make you go against something with a harpoon that doesn't have a lot of spots where it'll actually catch. So you have to kind of help it out a little bit, but this actually does work. Let me know what you think about this set overall, and also what you think about each individual mech. I always appreciate the feedback from the viewers, and other viewers appreciate it as well as they look through the comment section. So thanks for watching, thanks for your feedback, and I'll be talking to you again very soon.